So welcome to each of you who are here. This poem, today's poem, is especially dedicated to each of you, the listeners of this podcast. I so appreciate your listening here. I appreciate you being here. The poem today, we're going to get right into it, is called Burn This Poem. Burn This Poem, a primer on forgiveness. Goes like this. No, really. No, really, I'm serious. No, really, I'm serious. You must burn this poem just after you read it. Burn its encouraging nouns, forgiving verbs, compassionate commas. After all, some unforgiven part of you may recoil in a disoriented disbelief. So keep this poem just under the radar screen of your documented errors, your self-flagellations, long list of flaws, regrets, and self-condemnations. Especially burn the part that names your amazing strengths. Yes, you can read them first, though. Yes, you can read them first, though. Then maybe that section about taking life sincere and not so serious, as in some great unity, a sacred game that turns love, beauty, art, all of it, into your birthright, into your birthright. If you have a choice of stories, well, sure, I would say choose the ones of self-compassion, stories that open your heart. And yes, I know it's hard to choose new stories since we're more or less assigned a bag of them at birth. But it's okay. But it's okay. The world won't end if you simply rest for a while. I mean, you don't need to carry that heavy bag any longer. I can prescribe. I can prescribe you a new story. I can prescribe you a new story based upon a dream of a young colt, luminous eyes, an endless pasture, a great loveliness, heart by heart. I want you to meet this stunning creature. I want you to meet this stunning creature in such an extended silence, with that embracing gaze that brings you deeper waves of healing. All, all while you forgive yourself and life, then yourself, then life again. All while you forgive yourself and life, then yourself and life again. Forgive whatever shame you've continually used upon yourself. Forget whatever shame you've continually used upon yourself. That weapon with its endless supply of ammunition. Oh, and stop singing that tired old song called the I'm Not Good Enough Blues. Just remember those eyes. Just remember those eyes. The wind, how a gentle colt nuzzled your arm, and the almost unbearable joy you felt with her, and still do, so long after. Forgive whatever shame you've continually used upon yourself. That weapon with its endless supply of ammunition. Oh, and stop singing that tired old song called the I'm Not Good Enough Blues. Just remember Just remember those eyes, the wind, how a gentle colt nuzzled your arm, and the almost unbearable joy you felt with her and still do so long after, so long after. Well, obviously, I was thinking about forgiveness with this poem, and I was thinking about how it can become our superpower. It can become your superpower. We can start with others. Interestingly enough, if we start slowly, if we pace ourselves, we're going to realize it's no cakewalk, but forgiving others, the note I made for myself, can often be a tad easier, strangely enough. A way to get started in making forgiveness our superpower. Eventually, as your powers increase, you can do the really heavy lifting. I mean, the really heavy lifting of forgiving yourself. Of forgiving yourself. Yes, you'll be happier, more resilient, more fun to be around, more often centered and in your optimal zone. You will definitely tend to get done more of the right stuff. And listen, I don't care what you're working on or trying to save or helping or supporting, whether it's ecological, political, social, falling in love with the whole world, with its creatures, all the earthlings, the trees, the mountains, the rivers, the clouds, and yes, falling in love with yourself too. I'm pretty sure that all of that together is going to help. That's how foundational this capacity of forgiveness is. And again, forgiveness for others, of course, but also, and maybe primarily, the first step is to forgive ourselves. To forgive ourselves. You know, I sometimes kid about this kind of corny metaphor, but I really do believe that a good poem is like pickle juice for the soul. And that a really good poem allows us to pickle ourselves, to create a context which allows us to show up more fully, more powerfully, with our heart more open, more forgiving, more self-compassionate, more compassionate for others and ourselves, and ourselves. And I think that one teacher of this is the natural world and all the creatures and the young colt mentioned in this poem, featured in this poem, featured in the dream that is featured in this poem. I think this is a way for us to begin to take those steps toward making um, forgiveness for others, for the whole world, for ourselves in particular, making it our superpower. As we said in the last stanza, forgive whatever forgive whatever shame you've continually used upon yourself. Forgive whatever shame you've continually used upon yourself. That weapon with its endless supply of ammunition. Oh, 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 and stop singing that tired old song, the I'm Not Good Enough Blues. The I'm Not Good Enough Blues. You know, I have my own version of that. I often say that a poem does not have to be about ourselves. We can make the protagonist in a poem anybody we want. And I've got to say that this particular poem rhymes with much that's in my own life, much with which is in my own life. And so let's all stop singing the I'm Not Good Enough blues. Just remember says the poem. Just remember these eyes. Just remember those eyes. We're talking about the colt again. Incredible animal. Just remember those eyes. The wind, how a gentle colt nuzzled your arm, and the almost unbearable joy you felt with her, and still do, so long after. I want to thank you for your listening ear. This particular poem, Burn This Poem, a primer on forgiveness, came to me only in the last number of weeks as I had been musing about this idea of forgiveness and what it means and what it does to us if we do not allow ourselves to forgive and be forgiven, to connect with the world, and to be cared for by the world and a young colt that nuzzles our arm. How amazing. So thanks again for your listening ear. Appreciate so much your being here. If you learned something or felt something today, then pass this along to someone else. Comment, like the podcast. All that would be great too. So, as I always like to say, until next time and next poem or poems, please, please take good care of yourself. And if you can, someone else too.